Welcome to the Office Suite in Education tutorial. We take the last session on presentation using Microsoft PowerPoint. Our topics to be considered in this session are running presentation as a kiosk and printing the presentations. Running presentation as a kiosk. Sometimes you may want the presentation to run by itself once the slideshow is activated. MS PowerPoint's avenue for doing that is to run the presentation as a kiosk. However, before you run a kiosk, you must use the record the presentation using the record slideshow function. This part of today's session will teach us how to record a presentation and run it as a kiosk. So the detail is to first of all learn how to record a slideshow with narration. We will learn how to run the PowerPoint in the kiosk mode. And then we also learn how to export the presentation as a video. Recording the slideshow. You need a microphone for your computer if you want to record voice over narration for the entire presentation. This is useful if you plan to use your slideshow as a self-running presentation or video. A self-running presentation is known as a kiosk. Let us look at the procedure for recording a slideshow. The steps are given to us as follows. Step 1. Click the slideshow tab. 2. Click the record slideshow drop-down arrow. 3. Click either start recording from beginning or start recording from current slide. 4. On the record slideshow dialog box, click start recording. Once you do that, your presentation will appear in full screen view. 5. Perform your slideshow. And make sure to speak clearly into the microphone if you are recording the narration. 6. After recording for a slide, click the Next button on the recording toolbar or use the right arrow key to progress. When you reach the end of the show, PowerPoint will close the full screen. Your slide timings and narrations are now part of your presentation, and the slides with the narrations will be marked with a speaker icon at the bottom right corner. Let us have a demonstration of this. Okay, so this is our presentation and we want to record it. So we are told as the first step to click the slideshow tab, and then we click the record slideshow button. Here we have two options, either to start from the beginning or from current slide. We are already on the title slide, so we choose start recording from beginning, and this dialog box comes. Slideshow record slideshow dialog box. Now you can choose to include the slide and its animation timing. That is if you set animation timings. And then if you also want to include narrations and laser pointers, you can also keep them checked. When you are ready to do the recording, you click the start button. Remember, the narrations here means that you have to record voice as part of the presentation. So when you are ready, you click the start button. So I'm clicking the start recording button. Alright, so I'm doing the recording now. Today we make a presentation on teenage pregnancy. I am Charles Mensah, and I hope you give me the necessary attention. And when we are done, time will be allowed for you to ask your questions. Things that we shall cover in this discourse are: 1. To have a definition of what teenage pregnancy is. We shall look at the causes of teenage pregnancy and then move on to discuss the effects of teenage pregnancy. We shall also look at ways by which we can prevent them from occurring, and should they occur, how we should deal with it. Let us look at the definition given to teenage pregnancy. We can have a number of definitions for teenage pregnancy, but to keep it quite simple, we may define teenage pregnancy as that which occurs in a child who is within the teenage years or below the legally accepted age. A pregnancy that occurs in a child who is within the teenage years or below the legally accepted age. You can also define it as a situation where a child between the ages of 13 and 19 becomes pregnant. Let us look at some of the causes of teenage pregnancy. One of the causes of teenage pregnancy is inadequate reproductive health education. You know that information is power, and therefore when they are taught, when the things are explained, when they are well educated, they will certainly make the right decisions. But if they do not have the requisite information through proper channels of education, then they may be liable to becoming pregnant. Another cause of teenage pregnancy is peer influence. That is where a teen or a group of teens try to influence the teenager in question for him to consider engaging in sexual activities, which then may lead to teenage pregnancy. The next cause is curiosity. That is where the teenager has no idea and he or she is developing, especially in case of the lady, if I may say both, let me keep it at both, where both of them their bodies are developing, when their hormones are also developing, when they want to know by themselves what sex is and things around it is, then they may choose to engage in sex, which then may lead to teenage pregnancy. Another cause is sexual abuse. That is when someone forces to have sex with the girl in concern or the child that we are talking about. The final cause of teenage pregnancy is where the girl or the teenagers do not have the ability to control their sexual urges. That is where they lack self-control. But engaging in sexual activities and becoming pregnant has effects. Some of the effects of teenage pregnancy are truncation of education. That is where the teenager stops schooling after becoming pregnant. Then it may lead to some sort of illness, such as STIs or sexually transmitted disease infections, which include syphilis, gonorrhea, HIV, and so on and so forth. Then when the teenager becomes pregnant, it serves as a burden, or it brings a financial burden on the child herself, and then whoever made her pregnant, as well as those taking care of the child who becomes pregnant. Here, this includes financing for the upkeep of the teenager, hospital issues, where the child gives birth, everything around it. And then for taking care of the new child that is giving birth to involves finances. And where both the child and the guardian cannot afford, it brings about this financial burden. There's also this psychological trauma where the teenager falls into thinking, becomes emotionally distraught. The next effect is that it leads to poor economic well-being of the society, because when a lot of teenagers become pregnant and they are not able to continue their education, they are not mostly unable to also contribute economically and financially to the activities of the society. Most of them too may also not decide to learn a trade, so they tend to become more dependent on others. How do we prevent teenage pregnancy? One is to provide adequate reproductive health education. The next is that the teenager should be encouraged to join healthy and reasonable groups or forms friendship with people who are reasonable and who are morally upright. The teenager also needs to understand, after being provided with the education, needs to build an understanding of their sexual health and how to deal with it. Then we also need to ensure that perpetrators of rape or assault are properly dealt with to discourage people from raping girls and making them pregnant. There's also the need to educate the teenager to quickly inform people who sexually abuse them, such as touching them in places they are not supposed to, or saying things that they are not supposed to say to them. They should be able to report them to the appropriate persons. Teenagers, in order to deal with their sexual urges, must endeavor to engage in healthy, sporty activities and others that will help change their minds of sex, and not engage in activities such as the watching of pornography or watching of sexually enticing movies. Finally, as a continuum, they also need to be mindful of what they read, what they hear, and what they view. If a teenager becomes pregnant, what should be done? One, the teenager needs to be counseled on how to deal with what has happened to her and the processes involved in the pregnancy period and child giving birth stages, and how to also take care of the child after giving birth. The teenager also requires financial support from the parents, from the person who made her pregnant, and most importantly, from the government and any other agency that may assist. They will need special health care, antenatal, and so on and so forth. They need to be taken care of. And then the school and the family must also support them. They should not bring them down by saying things that will dampen their spirit. They should rather encourage them to attend school. The headmaster, the teachers must counsel fellow students so that they encourage her to attend school and complete, even with the pregnancy and afterwards. The teenager must be encouraged by all quarters to continue their education. So we come to the end of our presentation on teenage pregnancy. I hope you had a good time in this discussion. It is now time for you to ask any questions or contributions that you may have can also be brought up. So we have completed in recording our presentation. Now when you look down here, you notice that a speaker icon is added. Each slide that we recorded for with the narration, a speaker icon is added to each one of them. Alright. Removing slide timings and narrations. That is, if you are not pleased with the slide timings and the narrations that you have made, you can clear them. To remove slide timings or narrations, do the following. 1. Click the slideshow tab. 2. Click the record slideshow drop down arrow. 3. Put pointer on clear. And 4. Click the desired option from the drop down menu. Let us demonstrate this. So to clear, you are told to click the slideshow tab and then you click the slideshow record slideshow button. So we click this. Okay, then you put pointer on clear. Now whatever we want to clear, we are given the options here. Clear timing on current slides, clear timings on all slides, clear narration on current slide, clear narration on all slides. So you click the option that you prefer. Once you do so, you will remove the timing or the narration. The next activity to be learned is how to run PowerPoint in the Kiosk mode. You have already learned that when the presentation runs by itself in the slideshow, when the slideshow is activated, in that mode, it means the presentation is being run as a kiosk. To run a presentation as a kiosk, the steps are given as follows. 1. Click the slideshow tab. 2. Click Setup Slideshow button on the setup group. Once you do that, the setup show dialog box displays. 3. Select the browsed at a kiosk option at the slideshow type section. 4. Set the slides to show at the slideshow section. And then finally, click the OK button. Let us have a demonstration. So you should be on the slideshow tab, and then you click Setup Slideshow button as you find over here. And then from this dialog box, you choose Browse at a Kiosk. Okay? And then you click the OK button. That is if you want to show all the slides as a kiosk. But if you have specific slides that you want to show, then you can choose this option. You can type the slide from which the presentation should start, and then the slide to which the presentation must end in the spaces as provided over here. But if you want all of them, you choose all, and then you click the OK button. So now we have set the slideshow to run as a kiosk. What you do is you click the begin from the beginning, and then it will run on its own. As you can see, to stop the slideshow from running as a kiosk, you just press the escape key on your keyboard. Then it stops. So that is how we browse a slideshow as a kiosk. Here it will run and run and run and run and run until you press the escape key. When something runs continuously, we say it runs as a loop. Okay, but if you can only stop a loop by pressing the escape key on your keyboard. Sometimes you may feel like having your presentation in a form of video, as I have been giving you. I record my presentations as videos for you. If you want your presentation to be saved or to be in the form of a video, you are given that avenue using or following the processes as given to us as follows. Step 1. Click the File tab to access the backstage view. Step 2. Click Export. 3. Click Create a Video. In here you have the option, the video export options will now display for you on the right of the backstage view. Step 4. Click the drop down arrow next to Presentation Quality and select the size and quality of your video that you prefer. Step 5. Select the drop down arrow next to Use Timings and Narrations and choose either of these options. That is, you choose don't use recorded timings and narrations. That is, if you don't want the recordings and then the timings that the time you recorded for each slide, and then the narrations. If you don't want it, then you choose this option. But if you want to include the recorded timings and narrations, then you choose the second option. 6. Click the Create Video button, and once you do so, the Save As dialog box will appear. 7. Browse to where your video is to be saved and then enter a name you want to assign to the video. Then when you are done, click the Save button. A demonstration. To save your presentation or to export your presentation as a video, you click the File tab. Here we are at the backstage view. Then you click Export. Then you click Create a Video. Over here, you choose the video quality and size that you want. So I'll choose computer and HD display. If you want to export it simply for internet, and so you have the second option, then there's a third option as well. But for me, I'm choosing the first option. Then you click this and choose whether to include the recorded timings and narrations or not. So for me, I'll choose this option, Use Recorded Timings and Narrations. So I'll click it. Alright. Then I will click the Create Video button, as you can find here. And when this dialog box appears, you choose where you want to save it. I'm saving it, in my case, on the desktop. So I'll type the name I want over here. Trinity Nancy Presentation. Sorry. Presentation. Then when we are done, we click the Save button. If you want to choose another type, we have the MPEG 4 video, and then we have the WMV option, but normally we keep it at the first option. So click the Save button. Once you click the save button, the video will now be your presentation will now be converted to a video. So this part indicates the recording that is being done, or the conversion that is being done. So let's leave it till it completes. While the video is being created, let us continue our lesson. We take the second part. The second part is printing presentation. That is, you are learning how to print presentations. It is very good to allow your audience to have access to the information in the presentation after your delivery. The easier way to get them the access is perhaps giving them printed copies. Having printed copies to yourself is also good. In this session, we learn how to prepare our presentation for printing. Why do we need to print our presentations? One is that in printing your presentation, it helps you to identify the errors or typing mistakes that you have made. Handout copies of your presentation for your audience. Hand out copies of your presentation for your audience so that they are able to retain the information after the meeting, or even before the presentation. You have a fair idea when you give them copies in printed form. Okay, so after the presentation, when you give them the printed copies, it helps them recollect whatever has been discussed. Then sometimes when you print them out, it may serve as a way to design your handouts or posters for the people you are making the presentation for. So for instance, if I want to give my students handouts, I can just print it and give it to them as a handouts for study. Print layout. When we talk about print layout, we are looking at how the information on the slides will be organized for printing. And when it is printed, how it will also look like. That is what we mean by the print layouts. In all, there are 4 print layouts. The first one is the full page slides layout. And with this, a full page copy of one slide will be printed per sheet. So you see that one slide will cover the entire page, which for me sometimes may be a waste of paper depending on the number of slides you may be having. The second option is layout is the notes layout, and this prints each slide with any speaker notes for the slide. So if, let's say, you added speaker notes and you want the speaker note to be printed as part of the slides, then you choose the notes print layout. The third is the outline, view, or layout. Here, with this option, a text-only version of the presentation structured as an outline with the slide titles as the top level outline items will be printed. So here to print all the slides in bulleted outline as bulleted points on the paper. Okay, and you see more of the content printed on the page. So you may have about 5 slide contents will be organized in the form of bulleted points on the paper. When it is printed, when this option of layout is selected, then we have the handouts, and this prints multiple thumbnail versions of a slide on the page with optional space for notes. And this is the best option to give your audience if you do not want them to have access to your speaker notes. The optional space beneath allows the audience to take notes on each slide. So with this option, you can have a number of slides all displayed as thumbnails on the pages. Let us look at the procedure for printing. Step 1. Click the File tab. 2. Click Print. 3. For printer, select the printer you want to print through. 4. Click the Print All Slides drop-down arrow and select what you want to print. That is, you may choose Print All Slides, Selected Slides, or the current slide. If preferred, you can also type which slides to print. 5. Choose the print layout. So you can choose to print either the slide, print your presentation in the form of the slides, in the form of notes, as an outline, or as handouts. Then 6. For copies, select or type how many copies you want to print. And when you are done, click the Print button. Let us demonstrate this. So we want to print this presentation. You can see that the video is still being created. But let us look at how we print. You click the File tab, then you click Print, then you have the print options displayed here. Alright, now you click this printer button and then you choose what printer you want to use. So you click it And then you come to the settings side. What do you want to print? You click this button. You want to print all, you choose print all slides, or you choose this, or you choose that option. Then what do you want? What layout do you want? You click this layout button here, and then over here you see the full page slides. You have the notes slide. Let me choose the notes slide, and you see how it will appear like so. You notice that the slide will be up here. I've not included any notes, so if I had included notes for this slide, for the first for this particular slide, that notes would have been printed here or displayed here. If you want it as outline, we choose the outline option, and this is how it will be printed live. You see that all the slides have been organized on the pages as bulleted points. So you see that we have the title of each of the slides being displayed in a bold format, and then you see the information on each slide as you can find over here. Or you can print them as handouts. On the handouts you have various options, either to have one thumbnail per slide, 2 thumbnails per slide, 3 thumbnails, or 4, or whichever option. So let me choose the 6 horizontal option. You also have these options as well. Whichever you prefer, you click it. Now you see how the handout would look like. If you choose the print as handout, you see that each slide is going to be printed as a thumbnail, and then the information will be displayed on the thumbnails. You can choose this option to print it as that is for the color. You can print it as grayscale, or you can choose pure black and white. Okay, and then after doing all your settings, you click. So you come here, then you choose the number of copies you want to print. So I can say I want to print 3 copies of the presentation, and then you click the print button. So that is how we print presentations. Alright, our video is now ready. This is our video, so we can play and observe how it works like shortly. Alright, let me end this. So we come to the end of our lessons on presentation. For the publisher, I will upload a video. I would also encourage you to use the information on the LMS, that is the slides over there, to study that part of the lesson. It is not detailed information of on publisher is not in the handout, but I'm expecting you to Get yourself acquainted with it through the PowerPoint presentation as given on the LMS and the video which I will upload. Have a great day.